Financial companies like big banks, investment firms, they have been significant winners since the election. Why? Because there is great hope that we'll get rid of Dodd-Frank, which sits on top of banks and Wall Street in a very bad way. Joining us now, Congressman Jeb Hensarling, Republican from Texas, and he is the chair of the House Financial Services Committee. Sir, I'm looking at the legislative schedule here. I see the repeal of Obamacare, I see tax cuts, I see an infrastructure bill, and then maybe Dodd-Frank. Can we actually get rid of Dodd-Frank this year?
Well, Stuart, I think, to quote our president, we can do a number on it. I'm not sure we can get rid of all of it, but in order to have a healthy economy and get people back to work with growing paychecks and brighter futures, we're going to have to unclog the arteries of finance, and that means get rid of Dodd-Frank, which has broken all of its promises to the American people. Much of Dodd-Frank, Stuart, was constructed by a president's pen and phone, not unlike Obamacare. So frankly, much of it can be undone by pen and phone. And then not one in 1,000, including us House members, necessarily understand the Senate cloture rules. But there's a fair amount that can also be undone through what we call the reconciliation process with a simple majority and not a supermajority.
Just about a week ago at our production meeting, I asked the question of our youngsters who produce this show, how many of you have had trouble getting a mortgage because of Dodd-Frank? 3 hands went up, and mine as well. I tried to get a mortgage. It was sheer murder because of the rules imposed by Dodd-Frank. Really slowed things down. It was awful. When will I get relief? When will our producers get some relief?
Well, I can't quote you chapter and verse because we have a dynamic legislative process here. But another item I would add to what I said earlier, Stuart, is that personnel is policy. And so the president, I would urge him to immediately fire the head of the Orwellian named Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, who is largely responsible for the problem that you have described, where mortgages, frankly, are a lot more difficult to come by, a lot more difficult to close. I think he has the legal authority to do that. I would encourage our president to do that as soon as possible. Recently, the agency has been ruled to have an unconstitutional governing structure. So I encourage our president to move quickly in this space. But Dodd-Frank, as you well know, what Obamacare is to household finances, Dodd-Frank is to, to household health care, Dodd-Frank is to household finances. And so it's large, it's cumbersome, it's going to take a lot of work to get us back to a healthy economy. But getting rid of the head of the so-called CFPB would be a huge step in the right direction.
I just got to tell you, Congressman, that the troops are grumbling. They want action because they're suffering big time. So I just want to pass that message along to you, but I know you know that already. Congressman?
Well, I hope you know that we had the start of the end of Dodd-Frank on Friday when the president signed his first executive orders. I was there in the Oval Office, and oh, happy day. So the process has started. Help is on the way, Stuart.
Help is on the way. I like to hear the sound of that. Congressman Jeb Hensarling, thanks for joining us, sir. Appreciate it.